This is episode number 29 of the Riff Tacos podcast. My name is Paul Misko. And real quick, I wanted to mention in the last couple episodes, I had some issues with the video. If you're watching the video version, you might have noticed that after so long, my video started freezing. And it was just mine, not the guests. So I didn't notice during, but the most of the episode was just screwed up with Kyle. So if you watch the whole thing and put up with it, thank you. I know the audio is okay, which is the most important thing. But it was a problem with the platform that was out of my hands. There was nothing I could do, but should be good going forward. So I just wanted to mention that. Also, if you are watching the show on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. I'm going to do the creator thing and bring up my analytics, but it's like 70+% of people who come and watch the podcast every week are not subscribed. And right now, when I don't have like a merch store or a Patreon or anything, the best way to help me and support me and help me grow the channel is hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on the video, leave a comment, tells the algo that, people care about the show and it'll show it to more people. Let me know who you want to see. Let me know how I can do better. On Apple and Spotify, you can hit the follow button, and over there you can leave a rating, which is very important. So wherever you are, please do those things. It would mean a lot to me. Thank you. On to today's show, I am going to be joined by Corey Ray and Noah Taylor of Destroyer, guitarist and drummer. I first met them in 2006 when Robinson went out to Oklahoma City. I believe it was the first time we were there. And we signed to the same record label, so we were label mates on DeBella Recordings, played a show together for the first time. I think we stayed with their bass player, Dallas, too, but instantly became friends with them. They're such nice guys and obviously a killer band. I know we eventually wanted to do a tour with them, but it didn't end up happening. And I remember hearing in 2016, their vocalist, Jamie, unfortunately passed away. So I was super bummed to hear that. I remember him being such a nice guy, even though I hadn't seen him in so long, and was obviously a very, very talented dude. According to the Bandcamp, it looks like their other guitarist, Michael, and their bassist, James, are handling vocal duties now. They just dropped a brand new EP titled Void. It's out now, so go listen on all streaming platforms and Bandcamp. It's out now everywhere. And they're going to be celebrating the release of that EP this coming Saturday, June 28th at the Sanctuary in Oklahoma City. So if you're anywhere in the region, definitely go check it out. I'm sure the show is going to be fucking sick. So stoked to hang out with the guys today. This is Riff Tacos with Destroyer. Corey, Noah, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you guys?
Doing great, man.
How's it feel releasing new music? Like, what's it been, 15 years for you guys?
Yeah, Littered with Arrows, I think we released in 2007. So that was 18 years ago. Yeah.
Did you guys feel any nerves dropping it? Was it exciting or what?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely put a lot of care into it. And so, of course, like we wanted people to dig it. I don't think we were scared, though, because, I mean, it was just something that we honestly made that we were, ready to present. So we figured we'd let the audience, take it as they would.
When we started putting stuff together, I think it was kind of like, it was cool how it was coming together because we were all, we're like 18, 20 years older now. And so we're all in like, I think really different places than we were back then. So I think it was cool to see. It was cool for it to come together in the way that it did with all of our, modern sensibilities about music and the things that we've learned, ever since the last record we did, for sure.
Yeah, like there's a lot of maturing that happens over that time, and a lot of like you hear new influences and you're kind of like, oh, woulda, coulda, shoulda on a lot of things. Like was any of this on the EP will be out by the time this comes out. So I've only been able to hear the one song, but was any of this like older material you guys had laying around that never got put out, or was it everything brand new?
No, it was all brand new stuff. You know what I mean? Mike and I started kind of jamming, working up the song that became Void. But then I was like, dude, let's just, let's get the band back together. And because if we were going to write something technical, I was like, well, we should just like do Destroyer, So that was really, the beginning of it. I don't think that anything that we've had really, lingered for a long time. I don't know. What do you think, Corey?
Yeah, no, this is all totally new. Like the three songs that we're gonna have come out on this EP were all written in the first probably 4 months of this year.
Okay.
Well, and we recorded in April, isn't that right? So yeah, the first like 3 or 4 months of this year.
So how long has the reunion as a whole like kind of been brewing?
Well, Noah actually called me or messaged me at the end, or I think middle of December, end of last year, and he had been jamming with our other guitar player, Mikey, and he was just kind of, so he hit me up and was just kind of like, we'd like to start working as Destroyer again and making technical music, and would I be interested? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. At the time, I was actually kind of going through a little bit of change in my life with like my work situation and whatnot. So it was actually perfect timing because I was coming up on a period where I was going to have more availability to be able to do it, as opposed to the last few years I've had a job that wouldn't have allowed me to do something like this. So yeah, I mean, like as far as like actually talking about it really happening, for me it was like the beginning or the middle of December of last year.
Okay, so that's really recent.
Yeah, Noah, I mean, how long had you guys been like jamming or whatever? Or I mean,
Dude, I mean, it wasn't long. He and I hadn't been jamming long. And then I was like, I mean, it was kind of just obvious. Like, if we could just do Destroyer again, like, well, let's do that. You know what I mean? Because we wanted to push it to the max. Like even if he and I were gonna do technical stuff, like we didn't want to just like go lukewarm on it. So it was like, well, got to get Corey. You know what I mean? Got to fill the band out. So yeah, it happened pretty quick because we didn't want to force anything, and so we didn't overthink things. We just tried to have fun. We were just kind of hanging again, and yeah, just having a good time writing tech music. So
Yeah, you're like if you have a distinct style, so if you're kind of going to be doing anything in that lane, you might as well, bring it back together if everyone's down.
yeah, absolutely. And I think like obviously we've had the wonderful opportunity to work with Wax Vessel for like the last 5 years, and I think that uh being involved with them has done good for us to sort of maybe keep some people listening to our band a little bit, which I think is like been helpful for us as we've started back up again, to just kind of have a little bit of confidence that there's still maybe a little bit of an audience out there, you know what I mean, for us still. So that was obviously helpful whenever we were starting back up, because we hadn't just been completely out of the light, you know what I mean, for the last 5 years. We've at least been able to repress those records and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Wax Vessel has probably got back together so many bands. Like I don't know how many he's responsible for, but definitely did it for us. So I was gonna like ask if that had any like help in sparking that. But yeah, you guys have a lot of Spotify followers for like a band of like, our size that's been inactive for so many years. So that's really impressive. I'm sure it did help with all the vinyls. Did they do every record?
They yeah that so the let's see, I think it was 2023 they released the Spider Bear Tales, which was the last of our recordings that they hadn't done up to that point. So yeah. So now all of our previous recordings have been released in some way with Wax Vessel, which is really cool. And I think everybody, or a lot of people, know, like, when we were fortunate enough to be able to work with Nick in the very beginning. Um, so it was just really fun for us to be able to be in the catalog and be so close to the beginning uh, of something that's just turned out something that's like just super awesome, in my opinion, that I love.
Yeah, he's created an entire like cult following. Like it's really amazing and impressive. And everything is so high quality. Like the sound, it sounds great. It looks amazing. Like the artwork kind of like being reimagined based off the original. It's just like I think he's the best doing it.
oh yeah, totally. It's totally like boutique. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think I have seen, like you said, I've seen, I feel like some other uh labels or I've seen other people kind of trying to follow in his footsteps, I think now, which I think is really cool. He kind of like, I think, I don't know if he was the first or whatever, but I would say definitely kind of I think a pioneer in like what he's doing when it comes to like exclusive vinyl, putting out exclusive vinyl. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I when I had him on here and he kind of explained the whole thing to me and like why he does it the way he does it, it made me really appreciate it more to understand it, because at first you're like, oh, we want like everyone to be able to have this if it's going to sell out so fast, and then people don't get it. But it's like his whole point of it is like, this is for the people who've been there all these years, still listening to these bands, who really care, who are like the true fans. So like, if you're one of them, you're probably going to get one because you're going to be there, you know, when the shit drops. So, you know, and he described it as like, you know, the generation of people who are just used to like instant gratification with everything on their phones and everything. So it's like, oh, you can't just swipe and get this, man, is like what he said when he was on here. So it's like, you have to like, you know, get it with intention and participate in the culture of Wax Vessel, which I think is really sick.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's cool. You know, I don't know how many records Destroyer could sell. But I think the whole exclusivity thing of it is really cool. That all the records look really cool, and everybody that has one, you know, has something that's super unique that, you know, that they can feel good about owning. So yeah, I mean, I just like, I like the whole process. And I don't think you need to make, you know, I don't think we need to, I think it's cool that we're not just like perpetually making those records, you know what I mean? Because it makes each one just that much more special.
For sure. And did I see on your Instagram you're going to do cassettes for the new EP?
Yes. Yes. We sold, we actually, we've sold the first 100 that we're going to do, but I think the plan is to do some more, right, Noah?
Yeah, I think we've got a special, like a different pressing. I don't even know what you'd call it, but packaging and everything like that for a second edition, basically, of that, because we sold out of the first batch pretty quick, and so we were like, well, we want more people to have these, and we might as well make it special and kind of change it up a little bit. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
and we'll have CDs soon too.
Nice. Not enough people doing CDs still. I think they're kind of making a comeback finally, though.
Yeah,
So weird.
it's inevitable.
It is weird. And like things, I forget who was on here talking about that, like the cycles of music, like the new metal thing has already been back. And then it's like, they kind of happen quicker now, though. It used to be like 20-year cycles. Now it feels like almost like 10, like the MySpace era and the old like 2000s metalcore scene, all that. Like people are starting to emulate that now. And like people are sick of the overproduced, everything sounds the same, you know, heavy bands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the spiral's tightening, you know what I mean? So yeah, all these things, like all these cycles that, like, I remember in the 90s, like the late 60s were really popular. Like everybody had a Grateful Dead shirt, you know what I mean? And like the mid 90s or whatever. And that aesthetic was really in, and like yeah, so all these layers, they just like compound, and then yeah, it's interesting because it happens so much more rapidly these days.
Yeah, I'm always wondering like what happens when like we run out of sounds to try. Like where do we go back to? Because like you have everything from the most ambient shit to like the heaviest, most disgusting bands now. It's like, how can you go heavier? Or, you know, like what do we do?
AI will find a way. I don't know.
Yeah, unfortunately. I've embraced it in many ways. It does help with a lot of shit, but like creating music with it, I could never do that.
Yeah, I'm pro human. I mean, you know, AI is a cool tool, but yeah, it could go overboard pretty easily.
Did I hear they're like removing AI songs from streaming services if they can tell it's like AI music?
Oh, I feel like that would be a good move.
Yeah, if it's like completely AI and you can tell it was just generated on a website, because like someone's gonna make money off something they didn't fucking do. Like
Right. Well, and then they could just flood the market with like a billion, AI bot artists, you know what I mean, just like creating tons of music.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
they just keep making them till one sticks and they make a bunch of money. And
Right.
Yeah. So like for your writing process this many years later, like how is it different from like back in the day? Like how did you approach this EP?
It's really similar, I think, in a lot of ways because what we used to do or what we did back in the day was a lot of it was I would like write a riff on the guitar and then I would go over to Noah's and I would show him the riff and he would write his drum parts to it. And really wasn't a whole lot more to it than that. Obviously, Jamie would come in and do his vocals later. But I mean, honestly, like, uh, with this new stuff, it's been the same way. I like sat down with my guitar. It's nice because now I can record me playing my guitar into my computer, and I wasn't doing that before. It was just I had to just remember it all, and we just remembered it all because we practiced it a million times. But now I can, I can sit down and like make a video and plug in to my computer and record my guitar, and then I can send that to Noah and Mikey, so I can go a little bit faster because I can show them riffs and stuff that I've written without having to be in the same room. So that's pretty great. But yeah, I would say that it's pretty similar in that, like, with some of the stuff I wrote, it was like, it was cool because once we figured we were gonna start playing again, it was fun to just like start writing new riffs, at home and doing all that. So
Yeah, the
yeah,
demoing on a computer is huge. I never used to do that too, because like when you're young, you have time, you're practicing all week long, you have no responsibilities, nobody's got kids, like you can just like do whatever you want. So it's easy to remember, but now it's very helpful. Like I'll demo everything out on the computer. I was living away from the band in Texas, so I could send things back and forth. And so I definitely appreciate that now.
yeah, it's so nice. Because I was, I'll forget if I have a riff in my head or whatever, like I'll forget it really fast if I'm not like sitting down and working it out on a guitar. So yeah, yeah, it's super helpful. What do you think, Noah?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely been the biggest game changer. I mean, we're all adults, so we're all busy as hell, and so like practicing as much as we used to back then, which was a lot for any band, honestly, when we were kids, just because we were so hungry to make just the best music we could or whatever. I mean, that's just yeah, we can't put that much time into getting together to rehearse. So having being able to for all of us to track stuff, and then kind of communicate that way. Is the biggest difference. Besides that, I mean, we immediately like we all dig the same music, and there's new music around, but we all still like very similar music. And for this like project for Destroy Destroy, I feel like we all have kind of very like similar overlapping visions. So the writing process was super like easy. Like we all would bring things to the table, and everybody would have suggestions, but it's pretty easy, you know what I mean? Because we just wanted to make killer stuff that was heavy and technical, but also kind of catchy, maybe at points.
Right.
So
Yeah, like it's I can hear the old you guys in there, but it does sound fresh too. Like when you have you guys been playing anything similar to this like all these years, or was it just kind of like diving back in and like having to rediscover your style like you used to play and then adding some fresh takes or
well, so James and I actually have been playing with Greg Puchado's like for his original band, which from Dillinger Escape Plan, obviously, and he's got a range of really technical music. So that's probably the most that I've been playing that kind of heavy stuff. And of course, just for fun, I'll play heavy music. But besides that, like the stuff that I play at home for like to make money is like R&B and like jazz and stuff like that, and like
yeah.
rock. You know what I mean? So it's like this is the first time it's really since then that I've had an avenue to pursue like purely like aggressive music or whatever.
It's been a while for me because after Destroyer sort of stopped playing back in the day, Jamie and I started another band that was a little bit more of a kind of a straightforward hardcore band, but it was still kind of thrashy. Uh, and then I started working as an audio engineer and have done that for the past like 15 years. Um, And so, I saw so many shows at the conservatory in 89th Street, a lot of metalcore shows. Like I feel like kind of after maybe it was happening like while we were a band, but then especially I think after there was like a real big influx of these like sort of like Warped Tour metalcore bands that were coming through and stuff. And so
Like Unearthed and all that stuff.
so I kind of got like, not that I was like, I don't know, I felt like I was kind of seeing a lot of the same thing going on or whatever. But I guess all that's to say, I hadn't really played a lot of heavy music in the last 10 years for sure. So, it's been nice to get back into it after like running sound for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, I've said that a couple times on the podcast. Like, I noticed like Warped Tour got really heavy after our bands broke up, and then like, yeah, there was like, obviously MySpace had a lot to do with it, but I felt like we were all a little bit too early, and then like seeing all these bands blow the fuck up who were pretty fucking heavy, and obviously a lot of them went like more poppier and stuff. But I was like, dang it, I wanted to be on Warped Tour.
Yeah, man, for sure. I definitely kind of always had this feeling of being we were like either ahead of our time or we were like too late, and I couldn't really figure it out. I don't know. We were listening to like a lot of like Ion Dissonance at the time, and like Despised Icon and like Cephalic Carnage to be like really heavy, or to just be like we looked to those bands as our inspiration, I think, for our like spazzy technical like vibes or whatever, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
But no, I mean, but I also think that like there's possibly even a bigger audience for that kind of thing nowadays than there was back then. So
Yeah, it feels like it. Meshuggah's as big as ever.
Yeah. I mean, just the fact that like Jimmy Kimmel's had on brutal metal, groups play live is like, I think a testament to that. Like people dig heavy music.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention at all like all these years to like any of the newer younger bands, and then I see like Lorne the Shore, and they are so fucking huge and so goddamn heavy, and I was like, holy shit, like it is way more accepted now, for sure. What do you guys tune to, Corey?
the songs that are coming up on the EP are actually in two different tunings. One of them is in like a dropped A, and the other is in kind of like an A standard ish. And then we like to tune well, when we had 7 strings, it was like it was different strings, but now it's like the highest 2 strings, like the B and would be the B and the E. We like to tune those to so that you're getting that minor second interval there's no frets separating you from that minor second interval. Where if you're just in standard, then you have like 2 frets in between there. So we like to tune that highest string. I think what we're doing is we're tuning its up or down or whatever, just so that it's easier to play that discordant chord.
So is it like with 2 fingers, like 1 fret apart?
Yeah, so actually in this new stuff, we have 2 tunings, and one of them is like with the 2 fingers, like 1 fret apart, and then the other one is just barring.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, that's what we do, the one with the 1 fret apart. And I've never seen anyone else do that. Everyone's like, you guys are fucking weirdos. What is that tuning? But it's also in drop A.
Yeah, I never really knew like that's what we did from the get-go back in the day, and where that came from, I'm not even really sure, other than, I knew that was a popular chord in the style and that it would be easier to play it in this different tuning. So I don't know. I don't know if that's something that a lot of other bands do or not, but I think for us, it was just kind of like, oh, well, we can like riff on this better. I don't have to whip my pinky finger out to play this.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, Robinson and From a Second Story Window both used the same tuning, and I think the guitar player I replaced in From a Second Story Window, he found that or came up with it, whatever. But they were in like drop C with those high strings like that, and then eventually changed to A, and then we were just somehow both in A in that same tuning. So I've played in that tuning probably most of my life. I don't even know what to do with standards.
Yeah, totally. And it's fun. one thing that we have done on one of our songs, and we also did some on Littered, was instead of playing in a dropped tuning, we're playing bar chords in a standard tuning, which gives it a unique sound in my opinion, but can still be heavy. If your palm muted riffs can still be heavy but sound kind of unique, I feel like.
Yeah, like it's more
doing
dissonant,
that.
right?
Yeah, well, it's just so, in my opinion, it's just got kind of a more complex sound for sure than just the straight, you know, dropped bar chord is, just the 1 and the 5 or whatever. This makes it a little bit different. So
Right. Where does the influence come from for like I'm a sucker for those low like single string heavy parts, and I always call it corn parts because that's where the first time I heard it. Where do you get that from?
man, I I don't know. I mean, I would say like a lot of what influenced Destroyer back in the day was like Ion Dissonance and this band called 30 Called Arson, who was an Oklahoma band. Uh, and it's funny because like I feel like sometimes maybe I'll sit down to be like, oh, I want to write a riff that emulates this other riff or whatever, or sounds like this certain band. But then it's just weird because what comes out is just like what it is, and it never really sounds like anything else. It's just what ends up coming out. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I think it's always kind of funny because I'll like try to make something sound a certain way, and then it always comes out a little bit different, but it's cool, I guess, or whatever in its own way. And that's just like naturally, I guess, what happens.
Yeah, I think it's just proof that like everybody's got their own feel, and like you could give someone the same riff and everyone will play it a little bit different. So like I have the same thing when I'm like, even when I'm like, I'm gonna straight up rip this off because I fucking love it so much, it's still like, won't come out the same, and it's always just like your unique take on things, which is sick. That's what makes music awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
What about you, Noah? Who are your biggest influences like then and now?
So definitely like the bands that Corey was talking about, like my favorite bands and drummers back then were Ion Dissonance, Into the Moat, and of course Meshuggah, and Necrophagus, like any of that kind of stuff. I was way into, but then also like fusion drummers and stuff like that. So yeah, those were my biggest influences for sure.
Did you guys like, were either of you guys big in like the new metal scene growing up?
I mean, there was no escaping it. Like I definitely watched, like I remember seeing the Korn music video for Got the Life in my, what was it, 6th grade classroom in the morning in some like morning news network thing or whatever that they had. And I was like, this is pretty sick. So, it was everywhere. So it definitely crept in, its influence crept in there. Like David Silveria or whatever his name was, he had some pretty sick parts, in the Korn songs. So, and Joe Jordison, obviously. Actually, my first band was a Slipknot and Korn cover band.
Oh,
so yeah. So actually, I can't. Yeah, new metal got me early.
yeah, it was my first like introduction to heavy music at all. Like I never heard any like old death metal grindcore bands, and so like I was full on Korn, Slipknot, all that shit. And then when I got into Robinson, it was originally called A Good Day to Die. They were introducing me to like Converge, Poison the Well, and like all these other bands. I'm like, what is this? Like this is fucking sick. But like all of a sudden it wasn't cool to like new metal, and I had to pretend I didn't like it. Hey friends, if you're enjoying the show, quick reminder to hit the subscribe button and like the episode on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, please follow the show and leave a quick rating. It really helps me out a lot. And if you know someone who'd enjoy it, please share the episode with them too. Thanks so much. All right, back to it.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I was kind of a late bloomer to the heavier side of music. I was always just kind of a more rock music guy and listened to a lot of like radio rock, and then like just kind of rock like Weezer type of stuff. in general. But then like my buddy David invited me to go see it was actually Machinist was playing at like a local like VFW type thing. It was like a hall that they had just rented and like setting up a couple speakers and everyone's playing on the floor or whatever. And then like Machinist played and like this local band that was around then called This Was the Year to Lose Friends played. And I was actually pretty old. I was probably a junior in high school, so I might have been like 17. But it was like that. And then I also went to interestingly enough, I went and saw Norma Jean play at the Green Door as well during that time. And like those were kind of my introductions to the more extremes. And once I saw that and it like clicked in my head, then I was all in on like that at that point. And it was just all of like as extreme as it could go, was better for me. You know what I mean? Started listening to a lot of like Pig Destroyer and like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think our drummer in Fastwood, Nick, he said it like, I think my first concert ever, I think, was Tattoo the Earth in like 1999 or 2000. So it was like super new metal, whatever. But like at that time, that shit was so big. You're seeing these bands on these massive stages and it feels so unattainable. And then when you finally find like this extreme music and you're going to like a small venue and there's like 100 people there and you're up close with the band and there's that fucking insane energy, like that's way more like, I feel like I can do this, you know, like it's addicting, that energy. And if you're a person who like, I want to try that, I want to get up on the stage, and it's like, you can do that. Get 5 guys to get on the same page and you can play any little shithole venue and you can get started. And yeah, that clicks for me too. Cause I was like, I'll never be on a stage the size of Ozfest or anything like that. So it made it way more accessible.
yeah, no, it's really cool because like, you know, growing up listening to, you know, the radio or whatever, and then like all of those bands are playing in like arenas or whatever, and then you're like, you don't know like, or well, you think that that's what it is for so long, and then you go to this like VFW show where there's like only 100 people, and then like you can actually like be right there with the band members and stuff, and you realize it's like, oh, like I don't know, it's cool. It's like, oh, I could actually go talk to the guitar player, you know what I mean, or like,
Yeah. And like the crowd can pile on with the singer and it's welcomed. And like, you know, you see sing-alongs that were bigger than, you know, and a lot of those shows that I saw. And it just felt like you were part of it, whether you were in the band or in the crowd. Like you're part of a scene, a culture. And you like, if you're young and looking for a place to belong, it's much more easier to find it there. That's where I first felt like, okay, I finally belong somewhere.
definitely, yeah, I got that feeling too, for sure. And it's just cool to be part of. You feel like you're part of something special, and that you're part of something unique. And maybe it's just because there's like only 100 people there, so you're just like, you know, me and these other 99 people have figured out something cool that nobody else knows about. You know what I mean? Or like, I don't know. But yeah, it's fun for sure.
No, absolutely. What was it like writing without Jamie this time around?
Well, I think from the standpoint of writing for me on guitar, so like back in the day, we would write stuff and Jamie would do his thing sort of after the structures of the songs were written. You know what I mean? And I think that we also did that with our newer stuff. We kind of like hammered out the structure of the instrumentation and then worked out the vocals later. Um, but I mean, we when we talked about what we were gonna do as far as vocals were concerned moving forward, uh, we I think we all wanted to make sure that we weren't trying to get a replacement for Jamie. You know what I mean? It's one thing to get somebody already sounds awesome and you get that person to be in your band and that's fine. But for us, it was never going to be like aiming to find someone that sounds close to be similar. Like it was always more important for us for it to be somebody that we knew, like, we could get along with in a band and was like knew what we wanted to do as a band. And so all that's to say, it definitely wasn't a priority to try and recreate vocals that sound like Jamie's. That's for sure.
Yeah,
That was
you want to handle that situation with care for sure. And so
yeah, and
two of you guys are doing vocals now, right?
yeah, it's the bass player James and the other guitar player Mikey have recorded the vocals for this EP. So
Okay.
yeah, and it's cool because James and Jamie were like really good homies back in the day. Like I think they had a house together at one point. And James was in Someplace to Hide, which was essentially yeah, I don't know if there's any Destroyer without Someplace to Hide kind of. That was like the band that Noah had with Jamie and James before Destroyer. So all that to be said that James has been part of our musical family already since the beginning. You know what I mean? So it was an easy decision to ask him to play bass. And then once we were trying to figure out the vocals, it was also kind of an easy decision to be like, if you're down to do his vocals, then we're down, we think that would be cool. And I think his voice sounds gnarly, so I love it.
No, it sounds great. I think it's cool that you're doing the 4-piece thing too, and then you physically don't have a replacement for Jamie there too. So it's kind of like, I think that's the right way to do it. And is the title kind of a nod to him, Void?
I don't really think so. So the Void is it's taken directly from the lyrics, isn't that right, Noah?
Yeah. I mean, I would maybe leave that more up to like Mike and James to maybe describe, but I mean, I think you can attribute to it what you want. I mean, I think it's useful to think about it in multiple ways, because I've definitely thought about that, but yeah, it can mean whatever you want it to, I think. Because since Corey and I didn't write the lyrics, because we're not singing, so we're not about to tell someone else what to sing. Mike and James, yeah, they put together all the lyrical concepts. So it's pretty abstract, but
Yeah, I appreciate that though. Like I love like any kind of art where it's kind of left up to your own interpretation rather than just here's what it means, here's what it is, like that's cool. You can participate in the art as a listener.
Well, and a lot of times, I mean, if I, if I hear somebody explain exactly what a lyric means or like what a scene in a movie means, it almost diminishes it because it was like I was projecting on it something that meant something to me. You know what I mean? So like in that way, the ambiguity I think can help other people connect to art more so,
For sure. Yeah, like when it's done right, a movie with like that's like left open ended in the story at the end, it doesn't feel unsatisfying. It feels like, oh, I can kind of imagine what happened to the characters. Sometimes it's like, fuck, I want to know. But
right.
Yeah.
There's a couple of those infamous shows out there, but yeah, totally, dude. Yeah.
And so your old bass player was Dallas, right?
Well, so we had our original bass player was our buddy Casey Joseph, and he played on the Spider Bear Tales recordings, and that was all that he played on. But he was the original bass player, and then I believe Dallas came in after that, and those were the only two bass players that we had, right, Noah? I'm pretty sure.
No, we had Lucas.
Okay, yeah. So Lucas played with us for like the last few tours that we did. Yeah.
And he was was he in Machinist ever, or what band was he in?
No, he wasn't in Machinist. I think he was in a band called Rousseau for a while.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as like on the recordings, it was Dallas was on Dead Sleep and Littered with Arrows, and then Casey was on Spider Bear.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember Dallas was in the band when we met you guys. I think we stayed with him at his parents' house when we came through, if I remember.
Oh, are you talking about Robinson?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
And that was 06, I think.
Yeah, was that the show that you guys played? It was in that big like garage storage space, the massive. It was called the 114 at the time.
I can't remember. How many shows did we play with you guys? It was at least 2 when we came through, right?
Yeah, possibly. So the only one that I can remember was that one 114 show. We may have played again together again, but that's the only one I can remember. But yeah.
I feel like we played together at the other one, like basically when some people from 114 started another venue in a big open
The
building.
glass
I feel like, yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, dude. I think we played with them there too.
Yeah, my memory is very blurry from that time period.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we played so many shows and like so it's hard to remember all, but the reason that I think I remember that 114 one specifically was for one because I think that I booked the show and the turnout wasn't great. And I think one of the things that we did back in the day was we played too many local shows, you know what I mean? And like that show I think was maybe on like a Monday or something. And like I just remember like the turnout wasn't great. And like I remember kind of being bummed out about it or whatever. But like Jean was with us and I think I think he was able to hook you guys up with some beer and cigs and stuff. And like we all still we're all cool and we were all like hanging out and stuff and it was fun. But
Yeah, I think he contacted us probably through MySpace or whatever, and was like, "I want to put out the Great City," and we were like, "Sick!" And we had, at the time we had already like committed to another record label that was like a kid in his bedroom, and we were like, "Sorry, we're gonna go with this guy instead," because you're kids. It was like there's no real contract or anything. So yeah, I think when we came through, it was the first time we met him and you guys. And then, yeah, he was like, "Here's your signing bonus." He gave us a 30-pack of Budweiser and a carton of Camel Wyatts.
nice.
So we were like, "Fuck yeah, he knows who we are." Yeah, those were good times, man. I remember meeting you guys. You guys were all cool as fuck, and we were stoked to be label mates. Like, DeBello had a really cool thing going.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was crazy because it was like John was he was just a fan of our band and he was a dude that lived in Edmond, so he was gonna be coming to our all of our shows, and so he was just a fan and a homie. And then we all just became bros, and I actually lived with John for a while I was going to college in Edmond. And yeah, man. So it was cool because we were able to like bounce ideas off of each other a lot because we were just like right there together, and he was doing the label thing and we were doing the band. So yeah. I mean, it was cool that what he was able to do and help out other bands and generate hype and all that stuff.
Yeah, people were really like picking up on it. I feel, when did the label disband? Do you remember?
I'm not 100% sure. We got an offer to sign with Goodfellow Records for Littered with Arrows. Um, so I'm not sure. That was we obviously that was the last thing we put out, and it wasn't on DeBello. Man, it's been too long to remember like the specifics. I don't know. I know that Jean was reasonably bummed out that we couldn't do it on DeBello. But we were excited to work with Goodfellow too. But yeah, I don't know. But I mean, he put out so many bands stuff. Like he did like See You Next Tuesday, and I mean, I can't even remember all of the bands that were on DeBello. There was so many of them.
Yeah, I feel like after we broke up, like it picked up even more, and I was like, good for him. That like he's killing it. How did you guys originally like meet him, and were you one of his first bands or?
From what I remember, it like Destroyer just was like starting to play shows or whatever, and he was dude hanging out. Man, it's crazy that I can't really remember like super specifics, but like we were the first DeBello band. The record label initially was actually called Cunning Linguist Industries.
Nice. I remember that.
Yeah. And so yeah, the Spider Bear Tales thing was, I think, the first thing that ever came out on Cunning Linguist, which then became DeBello later, if I remember correctly.
Now that makes sense. So you guys were the first band. That's sick.
Yeah, and I can't even remember like the specifics of the first time I ever met Jean because we hung out for so long, and it's like, you know what I mean? So I can't even remember the specifics about the first time, but it was definitely like very early in the band, like when we were playing our first shows and stuff.
Were you guys all like friends, or how did the initial formation start?
Yeah, well, I had actually so I had gone to high school with Jamie, but we didn't really hang out in high school, but we were, I would say, acquaintances in high school. And then whenever I first started getting into like being in bands and stuff, I was playing with some other guys that I went to high school with, and like we weren't playing heavy stuff. We were just kind of playing rock because, like I said, I was kind of a rock guy back then. But some guys that I was in a band with in high school were also in a band with Noah, and so that's how I knew about Noah. And Noah was in this metal band called Blood Faucet that I went and saw.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Sick name.
Yeah, so I knew that Noah, was into heavy stuff and a heavy drummer. So, and I remember actually there was a couple times before Noah and I really knew each other. We were probably just acquaintances where I actually called Noah and asked him to be in bands, and he told me no, like on at least one occasion. But then eventually, like I don't even remember. I think it might have been even like Ryan Davis who I was hanging out with or something, and then kind of like got to know you and Jamie a little bit better. And then that was all kind of like, I think in the summer of 2004 when we started talking about like forming a band that was like fast and technical and crazy.
I feel like it probably happened during a conversation at Denny's at like, 1 a.m. or something like that.
Sounds right.
And we are just like, dude, we should make like the most insane like heavy band we possibly can.
Yeah, well, you guys were doing Someplace to Hide also, and so I'm pretty sure I come and seen you guys play guitars too, and was like, I was a big fan of you guys' band or whatever, and so whenever I was like, well, I want to start a band that sounds like 30 Called Arson or something, you know what I mean? You guys were the only people I think that I knew at the time who would have had any interest in doing something like that. So, yeah. But it's hard to remember specifics, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, the older you get, like the more shit starts disappearing. For sure.
Yeah.
Where did the band name come from?
Man, I remember we were just like, oh, sorry, my chair's a little rocky here. I remember we were at your house, Noah, just trying to figure out band names, and we were literally just spitballing, like whatever. And and somehow that came up, and I don't even know how, but I think I remember at first being like, well, I'm not so sure about the band name, but I'm pretty sure Noah was like, no, dude, this is awesome. So he can,
I mean,
no, it's a good idea. Yeah, I'm the kind of person. Yeah, I'm not good, but like, I can write stuff on a guitar, but when it comes to like words and stuff, like that's not my thing. I like to let other people tell me what's good and what's not. You know what I mean? But because I remember first I was kind of like maybe iffy about the name, but I think everybody else was so into it that I was convinced that it was good.
So you don't remember exactly where it came from? It was just like someone threw it out, or someone threw out there. Someone said, "Do it twice."
we're just spitballing, and we're just like, I think we're joking around about like, trying to make a heavy, brutal band and like Destroyer, and like, oh well, Destroyer, that's even, up the ante. So we were just kids, you know what I mean? And I think it stuck. But yeah, we just had to find a name, and you know how it is, dude. Like, with band names and lyrics and all that stuff, dude, it's like torture.
It's the worst.
So.
It's funny because Destroyer sounds like an 80s thrash metal band or something.
Yes.
But you say it twice and then it becomes an instant MySpace band. Like,
exactly. Yeah, it was very of the times,
Yeah, band names are the worst part of being in a band. Always my least favorite part.
Yeah. Well, and it's great because like I don't think you can. I don't think Destroyer is really like any sort of deep band name that you can read anything into or whatever. But I definitely think like a lot of the decisions that we always made were not like super deep thought out stuff. It was just like it was always something that was just randomly thrown out there that didn't really mean anything that we just thought was cool. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it's definitely not like super deep meanings to like really anything that we ever did. I don't think.
I was listening to your discography and I like was kind of going through some lyrics and I forget which song it was, but I found the one that was like making fun of Metallica.
Oh no, dude, yeah.
I'm so glad that stuck in there because like that was always just like a huge joke for all of us, and then Jamie was just like left it in there, so it's hilarious.
That I got a kick out of that. That was good. Do you I feel like when the second time we were there with you guys in Robinson, we were talking about putting together a tour or trying to as a DeBello thing with like you and I. Do you remember that?
With me, I actually don't.
Or not you and I specifically, but just the bands. Like we were all amped. Like let's do a DeBello tour, and
Yeah.
we were just
Sure.
fucking anything at that point. But it was like the tour that never happened. That would have been so sick.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I do kind of remember us talking about that, and then just like, yeah, nothing materialized of it, but that would have been sick.
We probably broke up right after that, or at least I quit. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was tough because like we all were having a lot of fun because we were young, but like nobody was like making any money off of doing the music or whatever. So and I think that probably like, probably for me, in the latter days of us as a band, that probably like influenced some of my decisions to or caused me to maybe lose a little bit of interest because like we were all having fun playing shows and stuff, but a lot of times like we would play shows where there was nobody and like or we were like self-booking tours and the promoters were like screwing us over or whatever, and it was just like, you know what I mean? So it was rough. It was rough back then.
Yeah, we should have followed in Noah's footsteps and started playing fucking R&B.
Well, sorry, I was getting a call. But yeah, neither one of us stopped, doing stuff in music. So
Yeah. Shit, I forget what I was gonna say when your mic cut out. God damn it. It was a good question too.
sorry.
Oh no, all good, not your fault. Did you guys do a lot of touring? Because that was kind of like what did us in too. It was just like touring nonstop and like no one's making money and we're getting into our mid-20s, some of us late 20s. It was like, what are we gonna fucking do here? Like we don't want to quit because it is fun, but we gotta I had nowhere to live at home. So it's like we gotta do something.
Yeah, no, when we were doing tours during the summer and stuff, I was like sleeping on my friend's couch. I remember back in 05 and 06 and stuff like that. But we toured. We didn't tour all the time, which was one of the things that I was kind of bummed out about. We kind of we were kind of like summer warriors and then like winter warriors. Like we would do a couple weeks at the end of the year in December, and then we would always try and do as much as we could during the summer. But usually during like the spring and the fall, we weren't really doing anything. I think some of us were like in college and I had to do classes and stuff during then, which was another thing where it was kind of like for me, I know for me and some of the other dudes in the band, like it was just kind of trying to figure out like, can we drop everything and tour like all year? Like, is that even a good idea? Or like, would that be irresponsible because we know we're not really actually making any money doing it? Or maybe we just weren't making any money because we weren't doing it enough, maybe. I don't know, but
It's really tough. Did you guys have an agent you worked with or anything, or did you do it all yourself?
yeah, well, that was another thing was that we didn't have any agents. So, and like DeBella was awesome too, but it was kind of all self-made with, well, obviously, John made DeBello happen, you know what I mean? And we did the band thing and we worked together, but Jean didn't have like big record label money or anything, you know what I mean? So it's like So it was all still real DIY. And so we didn't have like a booking agent. And like all that, like I was saying, we booked a lot of our stuff through MySpace just by ourselves. And that's why
That was the way
some,
back then.
but that's how we would end up running into sketchy promoters and stuff though too, is just because like we were kind of just like we would just put a date out there and whoever would offer us the best deal for that day we would go with, and we didn't really know who those people were. We just wanted to do it, so we were just like, okay. And so yeah, so having a booking agent would have been great though. That was definitely something that I always wanted. I'd thought that would have like helped us get our name out there a lot better, but it never really happened. We did go on tour with like the Handshake Murders and Architect and like Dance Club Massacre, and those tours had a booking agent for them, but we didn't have one specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been really helpful because we were all so young, you know, you don't know shit. We were doing the same thing. Just we'd put a list of dates on MySpace and say, book us on each one and then fill them in as they happen. And then, you know, we were lucky if we got enough gas money, you know, to get to the next city, which at first you're like, who cares? We're on tour. Like, this is great. But then you need someone to like have contracts and set things up. And then these shitty, scummy promoters will scurry away from, you know, anyone who knows what they're doing, and someone to like stand up for you and be like, no, they need this much. So you don't feel like the douchebag, go and pay me more money, you know, like all that shit. What could have been really useful, especially even just like a manager, like once your band reaches a certain point of, you have a level of like, okay, they're getting some notoriety, their shows are filling out. A good manager at that point is very helpful to like, don't make this stupid fucking decision. Don't do that. Do this. Like looking back now, just being older, I've never managed a band, but I could have managed the shit out of us compared to what we were doing now. You know, we just didn't have anyone to tell us to say no to that. Don't do the 8th tour in the row, right? The next record, and take a break. And, you know, you've already been to that city 100 times this year. So
Yeah,
it's rough.
exactly. Yeah, I think that kind of falls in line with what I was saying earlier too, about how we would play any like local show that somebody wanted to do, you know what I mean? But so I think in doing that, we would like at times thin out our local audience, you know what I mean? Because we were just playing too much. I feel like that's something that a good manager will be like, okay, you guys don't need to play 4 OKC shows in a month or whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, play twice a year because then
yeah.
there's some demand for you.
But we didn't really understand all that at the time. We were just like, play any show that we were offered.
Yeah, we were not like business savvy, you know. We were still, you know, kids, you know what I mean? We were still teenagers. So yeah, we were just having fun. And luckily people picked it, like labels picked us up and like helped us out and stuff like that. Cause yeah, we didn't really have a lot at our disposal as far as knowledge of like, you know, the big steps to take and all that stuff.
Yeah. Like I dropped out of college to go on the road, and I didn't have a job and I didn't have anything to fall back on. So it was just like, let's just stay out as long as possible because it's better than whatever is going to be happening to me at home. And I'm not going to be making that much more money. So if I can get my Taco Bell money every day and we can not die, then that sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a blast. It was definitely a blast at the time. But once I got to like 23 or whatever, and I don't know, there was definitely a point where we were just kind of like, well, I don't know. Maybe for me, I just had some of those thoughts in my mind, like, should we keep doing this or do something else with life? But it's great that it's all come full circle now, because
Yeah.
well, and it's cool because like we all went on to do music related things. Like Noah continued to be a performer. I didn't perform as much, but I was an engineer working with a lot of bands to help create their music. So, but yeah, and it's just great to like now, like we're all way more level headed and like down to earth and understanding of how this whole industry works and stuff. So I don't know, it's great. I think it's going to be a lot more fun this time because we actually know what we're doing more so.
Yeah. It feels good to come back with a lot of other life experience and be like, man, we're doing this better than we did back then. And we're not even doing it full time. Like we know how to run a business. Like two of the other guys in from Second Story Window run their own business. And I don't know. It's just been much smoother. I guess it's easier too with no pressure because we don't have a label. You don't have pressure to be on the road, and we can kind of just do whatever we want. What year did you guys break up?
So I wouldn't. It was weird because we never had like a final show or anything. We never were like. There was nothing ever official about it. It was just like we all just did other stuff. You know what I mean? But I would say the last show that we actually probably did play was probably sometime in 2008. And in fact, it might have been with From a Second Story Window when you guys came through in like 2008 and played at that. I can't remember the name of that spot. It was run by like the church people. Do you remember, Noah? The name of that place?
No, I do not.
But, yeah. But no, but I remember Destroyer played with, I'm pretty sure with From a Second Story Window, like early 2008, and that was definitely one of the last shows that we ever played.
Was that with August Burns Red, by chance?
No, so I think it was you guys had just been on tour and this was like one of those dates where you're like headed back home or whatever, but you need dates on the way. I think it was one of those. So I think it was just our bands that played that show. Maybe another like local band played the show, but I think it was just us. But yeah, but that was whenever you guys stayed with me over on 30 or 29th or wherever in Walker. You guys, From a Second Story Window, stayed with me and some of my buddies that have a house over there.
I don't even fucking remember that. That's crazy.
Man, that was wild. It doesn't surprise me that you don't remember that for sure.
Yep. Those days were just fucking Wild West. Yeah, when you said the church people, it reminded me of the August Burns Red tour because obviously we played a lot of like religious venues and stuff. And one of them, I remember we had that one shirt. We still sell it with the fucking like demon or Satan on it, whatever the fuck it is, and they made us take it off our merch thing, and we were like, "Fuck." But yeah,
Silly.
The partying back then was just out of control. Robinson more so, but Fastfo was still pretty fun and crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, we ran in that too a few times with promoters who weren't digging our vibe in that exact same way. Very strange, very strange.
So, let's talk more about this reunion. Like, what do you guys have like an overall plan of how long you want it to be? Is it open-ended? Are you trying to do tours or just kind of play shows as they happen?
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to we're stoked about getting back together. I mean, we're all like good friends. It's been fun hanging out. Writing music has been super easy. And I mean, it's a challenge, obviously, given the style of music, but it's easy as in like, there's not really a struggle. We're all having a good time doing it. And I think our plan is to write a full length to tour as much as we can and play shows, as much as we can, as much as reasonable, maybe not 4 local shows per month or whatever, but yeah, I think it's pretty open-ended.
We did this EP or whatever, and like I said, this is all new music that we just wrote and like the first few months of this year. And so I think we wanted to, I think some people might be confused or wonder why, there's just like these 3 songs or whatever. And I think kind of what we wanted to do was like get something out there so that people kind of had an idea of what to expect, going forward. And I think we didn't want to like wait and sit around and like write a full record before doing like playing some shows and stuff, you know what I mean? So I think that this EP is kind of like obviously it's like the initial efforts of the reunion of the band, and I think it's a good representation of what could be expected in the future. And I think it's cool because like we'll get these songs out and then we're working up a set with these songs and then some of our older songs, because we want to play shows. So yeah, that's kind of what we've done up to this point. Like get a few songs together and then get a set together and start playing shows, just getting the ball rolling, you know what I mean? And then we'll obviously we'll have a more full length option, coming up, and we'll get there, but we definitely wanted to get something out and into people's ears.
Yeah.
You know, because we assumed that people probably had a lot of questions about it and stuff. So
Right. It's good to kind of test the waters too after so long. And I've always been a big full length guy. Like I want to write the full length that has, you know, a theme and everything, you know, is well thought out, whatever. And then in this world, it's like everyone's doing fucking singles or short EPs and stuff. And we kind of got pushed into doing singles just because it made sense for us, like with how things work now. But I love doing full lengths, and it takes a lot, especially when you're not full time, you know.
yeah,
Yeah, and
we'll get there. But
yeah, and we're just kicking the dust off too. That's the other thing. Is like I think it's smart that we did this because instead, like we are just now getting back together, and this stuff is written and like we recorded it relatively quickly. I feel like, and so I think it was good to like work on these 3 songs that are kind of different. They all kind of display, you know, the different sides of Destroyer Destroyer, and get that out there. And like you said, test the waters, and then just go through that small process on our own. So that way, when we do write and record and everything, our full length, you know, we can be a little bit more refined about how we want to release that and everything that we want to do with that, you know, and
Yeah.
either, you know, the vision is either confirmed or we might, you know, change some things around. So,
Yeah. I've always felt too, like, kind of, you got to be playing shows because that's when all the ideas for the songs that you're playing, you're like, oh, I should have done this on the fucking record. So like, if you
yes.
guys kind of get in that groove with these 3, then, you know, it gets the fires cooking. And I think that's a smart move.
Yeah, that's so true. Because once we're playing and then you know we write new material and then play those live. That'll you know things about those songs will change. You know what I mean? So, but that you know that didn't happen with this one because we were pretty much just in the cave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of on our own. So
There's something about that live energy that brings out some extra creative spark or whatever. Like,
yeah,
and it seems like no matter how long you wait, too, like we worked on these songs for 2 years and recorded, and you still can't work out all the kinks. In the first live show you play, you just feel something. You're like, fuck, should have did that on the record. But I like that though. That it goes to show like how much, you know, especially for this kind of music, is the live energy is so important. It's live music. It should be experienced that way.
definitely.
yeah, but I mean, definitely the plan going forward is that we want to play. We want to do tours. Like, we want it to be cool. So
Like now, put us on a tour right now, somebody. We're ready to go.
Well, I'm sure you guys could get a pretty good booking agent. This drops. I mean, you already got some heat going. Like when I looked at your Spotify numbers for being not a band for so long, I was like, God damn, that's impressive. People are stoked, man.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, we're honored. I think we're lucky to have such cool fans, honestly, that keep listening to our stuff for so long. Super grateful for them.
yeah, I mean, I even like before, you know, this year and us getting back together and stuff. I would occasionally go check out the Spotify listeners and you know, I think there's probably more now than there were then, but even then, I think there was still maybe like 1,000, and I always remember just being like, "Damn, 1,000 still, like,
Yeah,
that's cool." But
it is really cool after so long. Like, who would you guys want to tour with if you could? Like, who's out there right now you think would be a good fit? Us.
I mean, you guys, obviously.
I would love to.
Yeah.
We just had to cancel our 2 summer shows though because everyone's so busy. I'm the one without kids going, I'll do fucking anything, but like it's been really tough. We're kind of just on hiatus right now.
Yeah, I got you.
yeah, anybody who will have us, you know, and I like I'm really bad also about like knowing a lot of the newer bands. To be honest, like I'm kind of the old head who like listens to all the stuff that I always have listened to from 10 years ago or whatever. You know what I mean? But like anybody that would have us, you know,
Dude,
I'd be
freaking
I'm going to be getting an education on newer metal music too. And then
Dude, I'm the same way. I wouldn't have been able to answer my own question.
yeah.
as far as new bands, like I think we all dig Chamber. I mean, you know, they're pretty techy, you know what I mean? Write some cool stuff. That'd be probably a good vibe.
I'll have to check them out.
I know Sangwa Sugarbog is another
Yes, that would be dope.
talking to you.
They're sick. They seem like fun dudes.
Yes. they have a good sense of humor. So like, yeah, man, you know,
They're the first band where they're like their logo has become a meme and it's fucking
Yes.
hilarious.
So good.
Shout out to whoever does their social media because it's fucking amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, in that vein, Peeling Flesh is another good band, and they're from Oklahoma too. So
Yeah, they're like the kind of like slam, you know, whatever you call it. I can't keep up with all the genres these days, but
Right,
it's just
it's
the videos of them. Yeah. I always said it's fucking heavy and it's fast. Like just
Yeah,
describe what it is. I never liked all the subgenres or like people like Robinson isn't real grindcore. I'm like, I know, I don't give a like I don't know what it is. It was just fast and we made shit up as we went. What would you guys call yourselves?
Man, like I mean, everybody called us like grindcore, and I would always have just called it like tech metal, technical metal. It was really what I would have called it. But we definitely get called grindcore a lot. So I maybe it was because of Jamie's vocal, but
Yeah. Yeah, tech metal makes sense and it's simple. I remember like people used to say that a lot back in the day. Now I don't really hear that much. But like mathcore is still a thing, and I always thought that was dumb. I'm like, what? Like I don't. No one here's doing math, or we don't know any music theory.
that's right.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I think like mathy is kind of a good way to describe our band. And to be fair, we would kind of like use numbers to write riffs a lot.
Yeah, that's true. I guess it does make sense in a way because we were the same way. Like Jeremy would be like, this blast goes for 7, then we'll do 2, and then we'll do 8, and then we'll do 6. So we were just memorizing numbers, so we didn't know anything. We didn't know how to play guitar, like for real.
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Do you guys have any like actual background in music, taking lessons, music theory?
Yeah, so I actually I am a classically trained guitar player and I studied classical guitar for 3 years when I was in high school. And I've also studied jazz guitar. Uh so yeah, I actually am.
Yeah, I mean, same with me, but just on the drums. Like, uh, grew up playing a lot of jazz and in drumline, concert band, all that boring stuff. Was a total nightmare to my band teacher because I was first chair snare, and so he could kick me out. So basically, I did whatever I wanted to. So there were certain parts that turned into breakdowns, but anyways, yeah. So yeah, we're both yeah classically trained. I think everybody in the band has like a solid, varied musical background.
I was gonna say I think one of the things like whenever we started playing as a band, I think another part that went into it was us wanting to kind of break all the rules of the classical and traditional music that we had been like playing up to that point, you know what I mean? So I think it was kind of like we were like it was cool that we kind of had that background and we could kind of like intentionally like break rules, and
Yeah.
create something new.
Yeah, I was gonna ask like when you guys write for Destroyer compared to the stuff you play when you're learning that, like how much when you're writing do you pull from those ideas and rules, and how much are you just like fuck it, feel like just numbers?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of crazy because I didn't think about it as much really at the time. And I probably like think about it more now writing newer stuff, but just like understanding like dissonances and like the tritone and the minor second and like, music theory actually teaches you about these intervals, that sound dissonant, and all this stuff that they couldn't play back in like the church. Like these were intervals that you couldn't play in music and stuff because of the dissonant way they sounded and stuff. You know what I mean? And that's
I
like
just learned that
metal
the
is
other
all
day.
that stuff.
That's so sick. Yeah.
Like that. I mean, and all of those. That is what metal is just like the discordant intervals. That aren't present in most traditional pop or like pop music, I guess. So yeah, but the thing is I didn't. It's weird though because I didn't really think about it as much back in back when we were doing it, and it was more of a feel thing. But that is what it is, though. You know, it's all like minor sevenths, like seventh intervals, minor seconds, and like augmented fifths and stuff like that. That are all these like really dissonant stuff that is present in a lot of metal. But yeah, it was mostly by ear, to be honest.
Yeah, I was just talking with somebody about that, and like the Devil's Third or whatever it's called, and like I don't know shit, but I looked it up because I was like, what is that? And then I got that whole explanation of how, you know, it sounded evil, so you couldn't use it in certain music and whatever. Then the fact that metal is just like, fuck yeah, give me all that shit, let's embrace it. Like I was like, that's so sick.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty great.
I mean, the church created metal essentially.
Yeah, by having people rebel against them.
Yeah, exactly.
That is so cool, and I wish I knew that a long time ago. I think I took lessons maybe 7 times with this guy down the street, and he never even taught me how to tune my guitar. So I was like, this is completely worthless. I'm just going to go look up tabs.
Oh yeah.
Just went from there.
Yeah, no, that's how I, before I ever took a music theory class or like a classical guitar class, I just learned how to play songs on the radio from tabs. And I actually got really good really fast, mainly because that was all I would do for like 8 hours a day the first time I started. But yeah, I mean, you know, that's the thing is that that's a valid way of learning how to play a guitar, is like seeing what other people did, you know, learning it from these tabs. Like,
Yeah.
it's just as good, I think, as anything else.
Do you guys remember the first like heavy technical song that you learned and you were like, fuck yeah, I can actually do this?
For me, it was Dillinger Escape Plan off of Calculating Infinity, because it was during the Blood Faucet days. I was super obsessed with that album I learned most of that album, and I was like, wow, why isn't anybody else playing this music? And then I met Corey, and then
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, and I don't even know, like I don't know. I guess I just started like writing crazy riffs. I can't really say that I learned a lot of other bands' songs, which is weird. I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
I would learn like pieces of them that I just wanted to understand how did they make that noise, you know, and then I would just go, okay, that's good, and I'll just move on and I'll use that idea, you know, to make something. I was trying to think of mine too. Like I think it was either Black Dahlia Murder, like Elder Misanthropy, or Between the Buried and Me off of Silent Circus, I think. Mordecai, maybe?
nice.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember a lot of times I would go to shows and I would just watch the guitar players' hands and like try and see like the shapes that they were using. You know what I mean? And like, I remember that was something I would do a lot. It's like, oh, what's he playing? And I was just like looking at his hands. You know what I mean?
You can go a long way just by learning a few shapes and a few ideas.
Yeah.
That's how I always got by until I got enough experience of like, oh, I accidentally figured out how to make it sound like this, or, you know, whatever I was looking for.
Right. Yeah. Or like they're playing this like, you know, 3-finger chord. It's like kind of like a power chord, but they're, you know, they're moving that middle note, you know, down a half step or whatever to give it that like dissonant sound. It's like, oh, that's how they made that sound like that. That's cool.
Oh, I remember what I was going to ask. Who did the artwork for Void?
Muff is Hot. That is the name on that's the name on Instagram. Yes. But I thought the artwork was killer, and we were talking about artwork and what, you know, it kind of should be, or concepts basically. And I think we all agreed that like collage type vibes would be cool. And then so found this artist that did a lot of that stuff, has a bunch of gnarly pieces, and then we just kind of like talked about which ones we thought would be the best. That one stuck, and it's pretty perfect actually for the EP. So I'm super stoked about it.
Yeah, is there any specific meaning behind it, or it's really sick? I love the colors.
You know, so it's one of those things where you make it mean whatever you want to because it's an original piece by this artist that we didn't give them direction on
Right.
what to do with it, you know? So that would be on them to describe it. But I mean, it does give off void vibes, like, you know what I mean? Succubus or something like that is about to suck you into the void.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a situation we were just like kind of like going over some different options, and that pops up as an option, and we're all just like, whoa, that's badass. And it's really not a whole lot more complicated than that. You know what I mean? Just like, oh, that's definitely got the visual vibe that's similar, I think, to what we are wanting for sure. So
Yeah, I think when you could just sit there as a band and discuss and throw around ideas and nobody agrees and people like sketch shit up and you're like, this is all garbage. And then all of a sudden you see something and everybody at the same time is like, whoa, okay, yeah, that's it.
yeah, that's how you know.
How do you guys come up with like merch designs? Because we're the fucking worst at that. We have like no identity or like brand. We're just like, this looks cool. Let's do this time.
That's essentially how we do it. I mean, we didn't for this newest shirt design. We hired an artist, right, to create that for us.
Yeah, that was a specific one where like we gave the artist kind of a general vision. And I think we've talked about like animals is a theme and like you know, skeletons and like stuff like that. Not to be cliche, but like, you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
been a theme with Destroyer artwork. So that's how
Skulls are
consistent
always
they.
I don't care how often they're used.
Dude, I mean, you know, they're everywhere. So
Yeah, I saw. Did you guys have two designs? I was looking at your Bandcamp.
yes, for the yeah, the EP artwork is going to be a design in the future, but for now, yeah, it's the Octa skull, which is the old school skull skeleton design, and the new like the ritual skull thing, which is the cow skull.
Oh yeah, okay, I see that. Yeah, those are both sick. I'll have to pick one up.
Yeah. So we brought back one old design and then commissioned a new one for those shirts. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the all white one, I thought I recognized that. That's older.
Yeah. That was an older design that we brought back.
Sick. That's awesome.
That was a Mexican chocolate one.
Yeah, I've actually got a poster of it right here
Oh
in
yeah,
the room.
Yeah,
And right there,
he did stuff for like Mars Volta and a bunch of bands like that back in the day. So it was cool that we were able to snag that artist.
So going forward with writing beyond this EP, what do you think, like influence wise or style wise, you'd like to try that you've never done before, or do you want to push in new directions? Or
Smooth jazz, probably, I think is where we're gonna go next.
Well, I guess there's a song in Spider Bear Tales had a little jazzy.
I mean, we have jazz backgrounds. Though I'm completely kidding. Yeah.
I mean, I would just say like I mean, and I think that Void was a song that our other guitar player is heavily involved in writing. And so I think that like I think it's got sort of maybe an overall heavier vibe to it. So I think that is kind of like probably a direction that we're leaning into, I would say. And it's also got a little bit more of a hardcore feel to it, which I would also say was something that we would try and lean into a little bit more.
I love
I mean, I
those
think
such as the melody you guys have in. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I forget which track it was. I think it was on Littered with Arrows. Is it a short track that's like very melodic?
Oh yeah, probably. There's one after the song Littered with Arrows. There's this song that's a standalone song, but it's just like a melodic, like instrumental piece, basically.
Yeah, I really like that. And I heard it today. I didn't remember, and I was like, sick. I'd love to see more of that side like appear at times.
Well, we'll be playing that one live. So
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I loved like that kind of stuff that we did on that album for sure. So yeah, it's kind of hard to say, I guess, exactly what it will be eventually, but yeah, I mean, I agree. I like that part and would love to like continue on it. But I also know that we've talked about writing songs that are just even more wild than what we've done so far with the reunion of Void, like really getting back to the spastic nature of like the old stuff. So we've talked about like at least throwing some stuff like that back in there, you know what I mean? But
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're wanting to push in kind of every direction, and with our like experience and stuff like that, and with age, we're wanting to be maybe more deliberate with our choices that we're making with songs, being like maybe more conceptual with each song. So like, yeah, I mean, we definitely want to write some songs that are just like 100% just absolutely insane from like top to bottom, and then, there'll also be some songs that are maybe more along the lines of that off the beaten path track that are maybe more sludgy or more like more catchy or like a little bit more repetitive, I guess, Because I think another thing we've kind of evolved into maybe is just understanding the audience as an important part of the band and not wanting to shut them out by writing just overly insane stuff. And sometimes it's good to bring the audience into the fold by playing things that are, that they can get familiar with,
Yeah, like it's okay to bob your head and have fun sometimes.
Totally.
That's what
yeah,
I used to forget that too and be like, fuck them.
Especially if it's on 5/8 or 7/8.
well, what the thing is what one thing that we kind of noticed like more recently, like going back and looking at like there's a video of us playing at the Pink Eye that's on YouTube that you can go watch. But like one thing that you'll notice is like everybody in the crowd is kind of standing there while we're playing all this technical stuff, and then a breakdown hits, and then like okay, now they're ready to party, But during the technical parts, they're just kind of like, when's the heavy part coming up, And so it's like I think for us, we definitely want to have parts like I think there are parts in songs in our old songs that could benefit from like a little bit more development or even just repetition. You know what I'm saying? Like we'll play this cool part, but it's just like it's over with in 10 seconds. You know what I mean, or whatever. So I think one of the things is that we want to do is like obviously maintain the idea of Destroyer Destroyer as a band, but maybe like take some of these parts and have them kind of like hang around for a little bit longer.
Yeah,
so the audience will kind of more like grasp onto it a little bit better, maybe that way.
Yeah, and in a sea of chaos and heaviness and fast parts and you can't tell what the hell's going on, those kind of parts hit so much fucking harder when they do come. And they feel amazing because it's like this release from all the chaos. So yeah, like letting it breathe a little more would be like really enjoyable to listen to.
Well, and I think about it like an insane action movie even like has characters that are staples that stick around in the entire movie, right? So it's not just like complete randomness for the whole time. Like there are themes, within that chaos. So I think we're trying to utilize that aspect as well, like character building almost within the songs, having parts, come back and stuff like that, and themes.
Yeah, it feels really good. I used to like before Robinson became Robinson, we kind of were like just metalcore, whatever. We had melodies and we wanted to be From Autumn to Ashes and Every Time I Die and whatever. And when we went away from that, I kind of was against it at first. I was like, this is not fucking fun to listen to. Like, no one's gonna like. It's the same thing. When we started playing shows with hardcore bands and shit, everyone just stood there the whole time, like, "Where's the breakdown?" And no one, like, it was like no one was appreciating what we're doing. But over time, I grew to like lean into that and go, "Yeah, like fuck it, like we're not like anybody else." But now I'm like older. I'm like, you can find a balance between the two, and it's and make the songs enjoyable too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So going forward from here, you have your show. Well, when this comes out, your EP will already be out. So everyone go listen to fucking Void right now. And then next Saturday is your release show. So who's all playing that with you guys?
Discern, Vanter Tracks, and or Ventertax. Sorry, I can never pronounce their name right. And Waning. So
Nice.
yeah,
They're all local bands there, Oklahoma City, or
yeah. Bands that have been holding, like heavy, weird music down, in Oklahoma for a while, So we're honored and glad that they are down to play the show with us.
perfect. Well, that's exciting. I wish I was closer so I could come down.
Yeah, man, that would be awesome. Yeah.
Well, if you guys come through on the road, I will definitely come catch you or anywhere nearby because I'm on the state borders of Ohio and PA, so I can head either direction that way or south. Columbus. Sean lives in Columbus, so I can go to shows with him down there. So
Right on.
hours away.
Yeah, we'll be making our way over there.
Fuck yeah. Well, I will definitely be there. So with some people, I've been doing a fun round of rapid fire questions. If you'll indulge me before we go.
Oh, shit, just no math. All right.
No math, I promise. And not trivia either, because I fucking hate trivia. So, what is the last show that you binge watched?
Andor.
Oh shit. The last
I
show.
don't watch TV.
Dude, I mean, I don't really. Dude. I mean, Seinfeld probably.
Perfect. I was gonna say you can say it's okay to say it was Friends in the '90s.
It's pretty constant. I mean, it has its Friends is not bad.
Dude, Seinfeld is legit. I like it better now that I'm older.
Oh yeah, Seinfeld and Frasier that was my shit back then.
Fuck yeah. Go-to gas station snack on tour.
Probably like a tornado or like a taquito.
Okay.
I like to eat shit.
Probably like, oh shit, either gummy worms or pickled flavored like potato chips. If I'm being being careless.
Were pickled flavored potato chips like a normal thing back in the day? Because I don't remember seeing them often until now.
No, I think it was like I think Louisiana they might have been holding that down for a while, but other than that, yeah, I think it's a relatively new thing that's spread. Food scientists have figured some stuff out.
Yeah, they're fucking good. What is a band you love but you would never wear the T-shirt?
All right, a lot of silence to edit out on.
Ooh, I got one. All right, I got one. Boys to Men.
There you go.
I don't know. Sometimes I listen to like that pop band Owl City.
Okay.
They had that song that they did with Carly Rae Jepsen. That's like
I think I know what the song. Yeah. I think mine would be Blink-182.
Sometimes I like that shitty pop music. Yeah.
Dude, I love pop music. I am a huge Post Malone fan, and I do wear his shirts.
Nice.
What is a song or album people would never expect you to be into?
I don't know, man. I love 80s R&B and early 90s R&B and hip hop. So like Sade is like one of my all-time favorite artists. So
I'm familiar, but I couldn't name a song.
oh yeah, I could. Yeah, she's dope. Definitely scope her out. Her live shit, dude. The Lovers Live, like live concert that she did. The whole band is just fucking killing. So, but yeah.
Fuck yeah. While he's thinking, side note, there's a video of T.I. live in studio with a full band from like the 2000s. That is one of the sickest fucking things I've ever seen.
Oh, dude, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I don't know how many he's done. He might have done a few, but like I used to watch this with my buddy all the time, and it's so fucking cool. Like to see a full band with rap like that, and it's like his best record from back in the day too.
That's sick, dude. If you like rap and rock or live bands, dude, Mos Def's Blackjack Johnson, check that live shit out. It's with him and Bad Brains band, and it's they didn't make anything. It's just a live concert on YouTube. But yeah, check that shit out.
Okay, definitely.
And I'll check out the T.I. one because that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'll shoot you the link if I can find it.
Sick.
We can skip this one if.
Well, I don't know. I'll throw a few things out there. I guess I've always kind of been a weird fan of like bands where like the dudes are like belters maybe. So like stuff from the 90s would be like maybe like Ben Folds or like Dave Matthews, and then like Dashboard Confessional, like
I love Dashboard back
into
to
stuff
day.
like that.
Could never get into Dave though.
Yeah. Well, and the only thing I like about Dave really, it definitely has more to do with like the music and the guitar playing than anything else for sure.
Right, they are a great band.
Like objectively great band, you know.
For sure. Totally. We almost covered this earlier, but we didn't. So if you can remember the worst band name ever that you almost used.
Man, it's crazy because we spitballed a lot of names whenever we were trying to come up with it, but I can't, because they were all thrown out. I have no idea what they were.
I'm also asking you to recall something from '04. So
Yeah.
Was Chain Sodomy ever a consideration for a band name, and then it made it to a song title?
Possibly.
And we were like, no.
Right. We had to use it somehow.
Yeah.
if you were called Chain Sodomy, you'd have to be like the most brutal death metal band.
Yeah, we'd have to be like Guar or something like that. Like, yeah.
All right. Least favorite Destroyer song.
This is probably going to be an unpopular pick. This is probably a song that we're going to play a lot too. But it would be the slower one off Littered, I think. Just because it's kind of slow.
Number Cruncher.
It's not a
Yeah.
bad song, but
Yeah.
I think sometimes maybe I'm just kind of like, oh, we're still playing this song.
Yeah, gun to my head, I would pick Number Cruncher, and same sentiments. It's not a bad song at all. I'm just like, let's get to the faster stuff. But
Well, that's crazy. You guys picked the same song. This is the first time I've ever done this with two people on at the same time, so I wouldn't expect you to pick the same one.
yeah, I mean, I couldn't really think of one that I disliked, so yeah, that's probably the best choice. Yeah.
It's tough. People don't expect that question. I like it.
That's a good one, dude. Honestly. Yeah.
All right. Fun one. Favorite 90s action movie.
Oh, dude.
Man, this is embarrassing. My pick is embarrassing.
Good.
My pick is that Sean Connery, Nick Cage movie, The Rock.
Dude, that's in my top
That's
three,
solid,
sure.
dude. That's a great pick.
They're supposed to be
I-
bad and cheesy.
Yeah, I always just figure like if it's a Nicolas Cage movie, it's just like an eye roller.
Yeah.
But no, that was like a movie like when I was a kid, I would like I didn't have like HBO or whatever, but I would like switch over. I would try and watch it on HBO, even all blurry, even though I didn't have it.
Mine is easy. Terminator.
Fuck yeah. That was in my list too. In Speed.
I mean,
Keanu Reeves.
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah, Sandra Bullock too. Yeah.
Point Break is another really good key.
Yeah, another Keanu. Yep.
When
That's
I
right.
I looked these up before because I think I asked this question once, and then I was trying to pick mine. I was like, there are so fucking many you forgot about. Like they're all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean Terminator 2 is like in the runnings for best movie ever made. So
Of all
For sure.
time.
Oh yeah, that and like the first Predator, which it is an action movie. Kinda
Yeah.
sci-fi.
And dude, and the second Predator with Gary Busey, dude.
Oh, that's right. He's in that. I haven't seen that one in so long.
It's
I need to watch.
solid.
I need to rewatch the original. It's been a minute, but fucking they never make them like that again. They're so fucking good, all of them.
Yeah, man, we'll never get that time back for sure.
All right. If someone never heard Destroyer, what's the one song they should start with?
but for me, I think it would be Dead Weight, which I believe is the first song off of Dead Sleep. I mean, and then there's also Air, which I think would be good because it has a few. It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier. It has a few parts that I think are a little bit more. They kind of hang around maybe a little bit longer, a little bit easier to grasp, and it has cool breakdowns and stuff. So it'd be one of those two, but probably Dead Weight though because it's just kind of like a banger from start to finish.
Yeah, that's I would say that. Honestly, what I was thinking was either Void or really the second track, which this is, I mean, you haven't heard it yet, but the second track that's going to be on our EP. So yeah, I would just because this going to be the band moving forward. So it's like this is what to expect.
Sick. And that's out in 2 days from now, right? That's on Friday.
Yes,
I'm stoked to hear it.
super pumped.
Yes, I think Daddy Longlegs, the song off of Littered, is probably my favorite Destroyer song that we ever wrote, or at least up till this point. But I don't I don't know if I would recommend that to be the first one somebody else listened to because it's super gnarly. And the reason that I like it is because it's one of the craziest. You know what I mean? And it has a really sick breakdown at the end.
Right.
But
And as a musician in the band, some songs are more fun to play than they are to listen to. They're just enjoyable, especially the chaotic stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one. I'm doing this with everybody. So I started an official Riff Tacos playlist on Spotify, and I'm asking every guest to contribute one song. So whatever you want, any genre, anything.
All right. I guess mine would be that Minus the Bear song, Absinthe Party at the Fly Honey Warehouse.
Sick. I don't know if I know that one.
I really like Minus the Bear.
It was Absinthe Party at the Fly Honey Warehouse.
I think that's what it's called.
I'll find it. Not many songs could be named that or get close to it.
Yeah, yeah.
You ever had absinthe while he's thinking?
Yeah. Yeah, I was in New Orleans, did some of that.
I had it in Germany the first time we were there. It was like legit, and it was just like I felt like I was stoned.
Yeah, I would elaborate a little bit more on my experience, but I don't know if you want to go there.
Go there if you want. That's what we're here for.
What about you, Noah? Have you tried it?
Yes. But it was in the States, so it's not. I wouldn't, call it even. And I think it was in New Orleans, but even then, it's not the same as what it was in the 20s, because there's not as much there's not as much mercury in it these days.
Yeah, the good.
But right, yeah, exactly. But so as far as songs for the playlist, I would say Necrophagist 7. I think that's what the tune is called.
7, like the word 7 spelled out.
Yes, got some wicked pinch harmonics.
Fuck yeah, I'm so bad at those. I realized not long ago that the reason I suck at them is because I hold my pick at a backwards angle compared to like what most guitarists do. And for a proper pinch harmonic, you need to mute the string slightly with your thumb. And the way I hold my pick all these years has been like backwards, and I can't fucking do them right. So I do like cheat ones.
Nice.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Is there anything else you want to let people know about before we go? About what you guys have coming up or anything?
Just stay tuned for the EP and all the other stuff we're going to be doing. And thank you, all of our fans and everybody that's been listening, old fans and new fans. We really appreciate y'all.
Anybody who might be listening to this in OKC, we're playing our first show ever in 16 years on June 28th at the Sanctuary in Oklahoma City. So.
Yeah, if you're in the area, the tri-state area, get the fuck down there. It's going to be sick. And the EP is out right now based on when the podcast comes out. So if you're listening, go listen to Void on all streaming services and Bandcamp.
Yes, please.
All right, and you guys are both on Instagram, so you can follow Corey at Craywalls. I'll put all this in the description. Noah is Noah_drums_official, and the band is Destroyer. Okay, so give them a follow. If you're enjoying the podcast, remember to subscribe on YouTube. If you're on Spotify or Apple, make sure to hit the follow button, and please leave me a rating. So thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.
Awesome. Thanks, man. See ya.
Peace. Thanks, Paul.